Tony Nadi, welcome very, very sincerely to Secure Freedom Radio. It is a delight to have you with us, and I appreciate you giving so generously of your time to discuss this important matter.
Thank you, Frank, for having me, and I welcome the audience to this important session.
Well, good. Let me start by helping those of us who may not be able to find Nigeria on the map, perhaps, or certainly understand its importance to the continent of Africa and the world, to do some level setting with you. Can you help us with first the geography of Nigeria? Where is it and what's around it?
Yes, Nigeria is in the region of Africa where you have to the Atlantic waterfront you call the Gulf of Guinea, and then on the upper side, the Lake Chad Basin. Nigeria is sandwiched between that Gulf of Guinea. In fact, it's very much a part of the Gulf of Guinea and the Lake Chad Basin. You have Cameroon to the eastern side. You have the West Africa, the rest of West Africa. Nigeria is also that West Africa, which includes Ghana and the rest of them. And then to the north of it is these ungoverned spaces that begins with the Libya of recent, dislocation, and you have Sudan in that northern flank. You have the Sudan that boiled over only recently, hasn't quite settled, and you have Chad, you have Niger, where American soldiers were killed not long ago, and these are the places that surround Nigeria. To the northwest, you have the northern Mali, the parts that the Islamists ran during the time before the French intervention. So Nigeria is sitting in the middle of these, places mentioned.
And if I could just interrupt you, one of the things that is characterized, I think, virtually all of the countries you've just mentioned, to say nothing of some like the Central African Republic and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which are not too far away either, they're all in turmoil. Danger of coming undone as they've existed at least to this point, which has considerable bearing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're going to start in a few minutes. Let's allow some of our presenters to enter the room, and we will start. Thank you.
This is a part of the world that we better be paying much closer attention to.
Yes, because of the sheer number of people that are trapped in the enclave, and we're talking about 200 million people, which also will immediately affect the immediate sub-region, the rest of West Africa. We have about 15 countries that depend entirely on what happens in Nigeria. So you could have another 50 to 60 million people to worry about. If anything goes wrong with Nigeria in less than 48 hours, the global community will be worrying about what to do with no less than 250 million refugees. I mean, people who will be running helter-skelter, in all directions. The only other thing to mention is that in that Nigeria, those who may have heard about Biafra before, because these are the same issues that led to the war the whole world had to help manage in 1967 to 1970, where the peoples of the eastern half of southern Nigeria, the ones that declared themselves the Republic of Biafra, when these Islamic forces came in genocide against them. They fought for 3 years, and more than 3.5 million of them got killed. The issues that led to that fight, the forces, the very persons, human beings who led that fight, trying to eliminate the populations in the place, to take over their assets, because incidentally the oil and gas assets that come from that Nigeria, because that's about the only thing the global community knows about Nigeria, that it sells oil along with a few other countries. That entire stock of that oil is in that eastern part, and these Islamic forces had come to wipe off the population to become the new owners of the assets. Of course, they've now expanded their gaze.
We have to take a short break. We will be right back to discuss more with the Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress, Tony Nadi, right after this.
Visit us at facebook.com/securefreedom with Frank Gaffney. You're listening to Secure Freedom Radio with Frank Gaffney from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C.
Welcome back. We're spending this hour on the distant shores of Africa, at least virtually, with an extraordinarily knowledgeable and articulate tour guide. His name is Tony Nadi. As I mentioned earlier, I had the privilege of being with him when he addressed a program that was sponsored, an impressive program at that, sponsored by Nigerian expats led by Dr. Shayo Ajiboye and Stephen Anada. We'll be talking more about that program in the course of this hour with Tony Nadi. But Tony is with the Lower Niger Congress, which has an arm here in the United States to help spread the word and stay in touch with the very large Nigerian American expatriate community. And Tony, you were just helping us sort of situate on the map in a zone of great and growing turmoil, unfortunately, a country of 200 million people. Tell us a bit more about the makeup of that Nigerian population, both in terms of tribes and in terms of religious denominations, persuasions.
Yes, for the global audience, it will suffice to think of Nigeria in three blocks. There is definitely the South, which is basically Christian, and the Republican in nature, not in worldview, not feudalist. And there is the far north, the part that has embraced Sharia and feudalism, and which has been on a mission of taking the entire country for itself, just like we've seen elsewhere. And that part has 12 states out of Nigeria's 36 states. Those 12 contiguous states imposed simultaneously Sharia in year 2000 and began to dislodge people and whole communities in the next adjoining territory, which is the Middle Belt. So you have to the south, you have the block to the south and the block to the Middle Belt that has a Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, Adamawa. All of these places you hear about killings in recent time, they are Christians, but they were part of the northern Nigeria that was governed for almost 80 years by these, Muslim far north that now has 12 states. And where we are now is that they've gone beyond just proclaiming Sharia for themselves, contrary to the provisions of the constitution that brings Nigeria together. That Nigeria is a secular union between all these blocks, and it was carefully, decided to be so. And even at the time independence was being negotiated, that part that has gone back to Sharia now wanted Sharia. But the British, had to set up a commission that settled some of those questions, and they removed, what the compromise was that Sharia was removed from the table, and they brought in what they call the penal code, so that the Middle Belt, that was part of that northern region of the time, could be in that region, being Christians and not be molested. But so it was a fundamental part of the discussion of how that Middle Belt could be part of that north, and by extension, how Nigeria could be one country. Because
just call me.
if the Middle Belt that is
don't text,
sharing the house lingua franca with
okay. So hold on a second. You're the co-host, right? You already? Oh, really? Okay. That's Injanja Media. Injanja. Let me look for. Okay. Yes. Your co-host, yeah. Oh, yes. So I'm going to stop the. Oh, yes. So we are going to, we should start in 3 minutes. And yes, we didn't have enough, a whole lot of people. Let's just stay on the, let's start, let's start now. And you're going to welcome, and then you introduce me. Or, okay, okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
Johnny, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Good, good. Okay, we're going to start in just a couple of minutes. Everybody, thanks for joining this conference of the Lower Niger Territory. You are here because you care about your community. You care about your ethnic nationality and your place in the world. You are here because your land was stolen. Your sovereignty was stolen from you, and you are in the process of restoring that stolen sovereignty. You're here because you care. I welcome you, everyone from the Lower Niger Territory. I'm going to introduce my co-host today, Mazi Ezoke of Niger Media. Mazi Ezoke, say hello to the people, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Moses. Okay, and I say once more, welcome everybody to this mega conference. Johnny, thank you very much for welcoming me. I believe we're going to have an interesting conversation this evening. Then thank you everyone for joining us for this event. Thank you very much all.
Thank you, Moses. Okay. At this time, we have speakers that are going to be speaking to us. If you're not familiar with our journey, it started many years ago. And in those years, many have stepped in to question what was going and what was happening to us as a people. And many of those people are here today, and they are going to be speaking to us. I thank every one of you that's on the Zoom platform, as well as the other platforms, such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, that's watching live right now. We're going to welcome our speakers in a little bit. If you noticed when you came in, you were muted on entry. If you have any questions for us, please raise a hand or leave something in the chat so we can get to you. And we are in just a minute. We're going to start with our speakers. Is Dr. Iranya with us right now? Is our Uncle Fred Abeyebe? Is Dr. Fred here? Already, can we see Dr. Fred on the Zoom forum? I think I saw him earlier. So it's going to be, there's a lot of people on this forum, so it's going to take a little bit of, yes, I see Dr. Fred. Dr. Fred, you're going to be speaking to us in a little bit. He's the president of the Lower Niger Congress. Dr. Fred, can you please do the introduction, please, of Dr. Fred? Maz is okay. Dr. Fred Abeyebe, let's make sure that he can speak. I'm going to unmute you, Dr. Fred Abeyebe, the president of Lower Niger Congress. Dr. Fred, please, can you hear me? Speak up, please, sir.
Dr. Fred, can you quickly unmute yourself? And while he's doing that, for many of you who do not know, Dr. Fred Agbayegbe is the president, Lower Niger Congress, and the chairman, MNS Alliance, now called NINAS. And he's going to have the welcome address. And to his profile, he's a distinguished lawyer, celebrated playwright with 2 PhDs in law from the from 2 United Kingdom universities. He began his career with the Commonwealth Headquarters Secretariat in Whitehall, and moved on to other roles in engaging the difficult political developments of Nigeria, a founding member of the National Party of Nigeria, NPN, in the Second Republic, and arrowhead of the Delta State Movement and the non-NEDECO steward, from which he also joined the Pro-National Conference Group, PRONACO initiative. Subsequently, he emerged the president of Lower Niger Congress and the chairman of the movement of the New Nigeria, MNN, that birthed NINAS Alliance. Dr. Abeyebe is a signatory to the December 16, 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure. Now we have the privilege to welcome him, Dr. Abeyebe. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation this evening.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I thank you for all the efforts you've made to make this possible. I start by saying, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to welcome you all to this all-inclusive meeting of our formidable and enviable Lower Niger territory. I crave your indulgence to be allowed to deploy an extra minute in honor of a duo to whom honors are due, and request you, wherever you are, to please stand up for 1 minute silence in honor of the memories of 2 parties, primordial members of the Lower Niger Congress, who, but for departures to the great beyond, would have happily participated in our deliberations here today, in the persons of Alfred Ilenre and Rear Admiral Ndubisi Godwin Kanu, retired. The former was a historical lexicon and encyclopedia. The latter was a committed and indomitable purse. May their gentle souls rest in perfect peace. Let me start by thanking the Secretariat for putting this program out here today. For those who prefer empty noise making, rather than basking in positive results, as we are known for, thanks to our outstanding and eloquent TN, our envious detractors were fabricating doubts as to whether or not our LNC was the panacea to the maladies that Nigeria face as we speak. Now, the question is, after seeing our TN everywhere, here, there, and yonder, is there still any doubt as to the fact that the LNC and all its affiliates are the panacea to the problems that Nigeria has? I'm talking about TN, our indomitable Secretary General.
Doctor, go ahead. You are heard very loud and clear. Can you kindly go ahead, please? Doctor, go ahead. You are heard loud and clear.
Okay. Suffice it.
And doctor, can you please move your camera to where we can see your face? We're losing most of your, can you move it lower a little bit? Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Suffice it to say that out of the deep trenches of a tackle, as muscular as it is intellectual, we are happy to be here today with our political siblings and to discuss the next course of action in our quest to retrieve our stolen sovereignties and defend to the hilt the ancestral lands, the bequests of our primogenitors against a modern day, albeit screaming warmongers and pirating aggressive predators armed with a forged constitution, fraudulently flagging our consent, whatever the cost. Whilst urging you that focused we must remain, whatever the antics of those who parade untested prowess allegedly bestowed by Allah, I personally wish to leave nobody in any doubt about my personal feelings on this matter here today. And I say this: enough is enough has graduated from an ideologue to a phenomenon that cannot be overflogged in a Nigerian situation. Within the context of that mind frame, I ask a few questions. What can anyone show to justify any protagonist's position that whereas true federalism is desirable as a solution to the impasse to progress, development, and peaceful cohabitation that Nigeria has become, the dismantling of Nigeria, even in the absence of true federalism, must remain a notion never to be contemplated. Two, other than an inglorious colonial past and a forged constitution that hitherto founded a limping union of the two sides, what does the Lower Niger have in common with the predators that imposed the rogue constitution that is an incentive to continue with a continuously squabbling relationship? Three, after rereading the opportunities for progress and development afforded by the 1963 Constitution, with which Nigeria sought and obtained membership of the United Nations, after rereading the 1999 substitute for the 1963 Constitution, and after rereading the Sardauna's admonition of 1960 to his grandfather's vassals, the new nation called Nigeria should be an estate of our great-grandfather, Othman Dan Fodio. We must ruthlessly prevent a change of power. We use minorities in the north as willing tools and the south as conquered territory, and never allow them to rule over us and never allow them to have control over their own future. And after watching, now how true to their fidelity to the admonition all those vassals, including Buhari, have been, and especially after hearing Buhari's reason, because I have cousins there, for diverting funds and comfort to Niger Republic whilst Nigerians starve. Why, I ask, should the lower Nigerians share citizenship with people whose Allah approves termination of our lives because they are owned by their own ipsu dixit? We are nomenclatured Keferis, people who have no value for their own lives and can therefore have no value for anybody else's life, and can strap up to undertake evil deeds, ready to die, provided they recite Allah Yakubaru. People who do not want us to have electricity unless they approve, for no other reason than wanting to control our lives. In other words, citizenship with agents of obstruction who are not even interested in furthering their own lives. Now, thank God for the devastation that the efforts of our LNC, our MNN, our NINAS have delivered to all the devilish objectives they hoped to achieve with their illegal constitution. My prayer point must change pointedly to two of the points of discussion here today: ending the fraud of 1999 to correct the mistake of 1914, highway to freedom, repudiations, and rejecting the 1999 Unitary Constitution of Nigeria. So let me waste no more of your time by urging a speedy disposal of our tax here today and the subsequent successful implementations thereafter. In short, please go ahead, dissect the myriad opportunities afforded us by the illegality and consequent death of the 1999 Constitution, which will propel us to leave behind the obstructionists to our own progress, development, and those of our posterity. I wish you meaningful deliberation. Thank you. At some point, the Secretary General will give you a catalog of how we came this far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think Johnny and Sike, you keep muting yourself, and I can see your lips moving without you muting yourself. Now, thank you very much, Doctor, for that important address you delivered. Well delivered, and I say thank you once more. I think we will move to the second, obviously the House rule now. Please, I want to note that every speaker would be given 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, you will be interrupted. So do not get offended when you will be interrupted and when you've exceeded the time given. The next speaker who's going to be the keynote speaker is Dr. Clifford Iranya. For many of you who do not know who Dr. Clifford Iranya is,
we modified his introduction a little bit. He requested for that modification from what you have there. It says with a PhD in engineering, Dr. Clifford Iranya, based in Houston, Texas, who works for the biggest oil pipeline after a career in Shell Petroleum. Dr. Iranya was one of the founding backbones of the Biafra restoration. But he saw, upon coming across the Lower Niger strategy-based self-determination initiative, Mr. Iranya changed course, and he embraced the multi-regional international alliance component of the grand strategy of the Lower Niger Congress, and he's going to be our keynote speaker today. And I'm going to hand over to you, Maz. It's okay. It's just the modification I wanted to point out on Dr. Irania. He is a signatory to the December 2016 Constitutional Force Majeure. And we welcome you, Dr. Irania. Sorry about that, Dr. Maz. It's okay. There was a modification that he had to send back to me. I did not update you on that modification. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Dr. Ilanya, you now have the floor. You have 5 minutes to make your presentation. Thank you very much.
I hope you will add the time you use in muting me to whatever time I have left. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clifford Chukwemeka Iruanya. I come from Ara Ndionyomobi in the Olo province of the Oro region. As we are aware, and maybe some of us are not, I'd like to remind us that the British government invaded our ancestral space in the 18th and 19th century. By military conquest, they ruled us and they coerced us into a political union, which they named Nigeria. However, our founding fathers fought for independence. And as they did so, they had agreements, they had conditions, agreements, and negotiations before going into the independence status. I would like to bring here about 6 of those conditions. Number 1 is that our founding fathers agreed on regional structure. Regional structure, very important. Number 2, our founding fathers agreed on regional autonomy. That is the regional structure goes with the regional autonomy. 3, they also agreed on regional constitutions and a federal and one constitution for the center. Number 4, they also agreed to what is called a federation. A federation is a union of constitution. And number 5, they also agreed to secularity, meaning that you will not have any particular religion as a state religion. As a matter of fact, that the North included the Middle Belt was because of this condition of secularity. Number 6, our founding fathers agreed to parliamentary or the Westminster type of government and not the presidential system. And of course, what happened later? By military brigandage, by way of mismanagement, manipulation, and intervention, the military jettisoned and threw out all the agreements and conditions. And ladies and gentlemen, I am going to the crux of the matter, why I am making this presentation today. And if you can, please look up to your screen. You see a document I'm holding here. This is what happened on the 5th of May, 1999. The greatest calamity on this earth, the greatest evil to any human being. Something that is worse than what Hitler did to the Jews happened on the 5th of May, 1999. Please put down that date down. May 5, 1999. That is what is articulated in this document. It is in this document of May 5, 1999 that our assets were seized. We don't control our assets. We don't own our assets. From this document of May 5, 1999, that we were fractured, just like what was started on the 27th of May, 1967, by way of decree number 14. It culminated on this document of May 5, 1999, where we were fractured. Now we have the Ijaz in Delta State, Ijaz even in Cross River State, in River State, in Bayelsa, we were fractured. The lower Niger territory was fractured, courtesy of this document of May 5, 1999. It is also on this document of May 5, 1999, that we had all kind of lopsidedness in appointment, in institution, in the citing of whatever. It is also in this document of May 5, 1999, that today Nigeria is practicing what is called inverted federalism. That is federalism that is put upside down. It is this document of May 5, 1999, that today what we witness is death and more death. There are more people dying because of this document of May 5, 1999. But I have a good news, and that is where I'm going with my presentation. I'm glad to announce that we have an alliance made up of the Middle Belt, the Southwest, and the Lower Niger Territory. And many, many thanks and appreciation to our daddy here, Dr. Fred Abayebe, for championing this as the president of the Lower Niger Congress, which is an organization, a self-determination collective of the peoples of the Lower Niger Territory. And here we are today having this mega conference. Now, what do we expect? One is that the alliance has come together and declared what is called constitutional grievances. And these constitutional grievances led into a proclamation of the constitutional force majeure, in which there were 5 demands. I'm not going to bore you. I'm not going to go into details about the 5 demands, but I will seriously, urgently, and please ask you to find time to read that constitutional force majeure proclamation, because there you will find the 5 demands. And these are the strategies by which we will undo, again, look at the screen, we will undo that heinous crime that was committed on May 5, 1999. And you may be wondering, what is this thing about May 5, 1999? May 5, 1999 was the day Abdulsalami Abubakar and his military colleagues proclaimed or signed, decreed into existence what they call a 1999 constitution through decree number 24. As a matter of fact, decree number 24 was proclaimed on or was signed into effect on May 5, 1999. And it is that decree that gave birth to the fraudulent 1999 constitution. My dear people, a country or a nation is brought into existence through a constitution. And the constitution is a document that is made by the people. And that is why every constitution in this world that you can think of, pick it up, you will see where it says, we the people. Why? Because it's the people that make a constitution. It's just like the phenomenon of a dog. If you see a dog, if a dog sees the owner or somebody that is friendly with, the dog will be wagging the tail. It is not the tail of the dog that will wag the dog. It is the dog that will wag the tail. But the 1999 constitution is akin to, is the same thing as the tail wagging the dog. The people make the constitution. It is not, a constitution is not decreed into existence. And even when the people finish making the constitution, they will subject it to a vote. It is called referendum. It will be subjected to a vote. This never happened in 1999. Why? Because of this same document I have here, which I keep bringing up to this screen, that was signed on May 5, 1999. They call it decree number 24. Therefore, in conclusion, I am urging everyone to key into the programs of the Nigerian Indigenous Nationality Alliance for Self-Determination, because they have the strategy, they have the mechanism for getting us out of the present mess which we are in. we in the lower Niger territory, as led by the LNC under the presidency of Dr. Fred Agbeyebe, we must come together. We must work together. We must join forces. We must target that very source of our misery, which is the 1999 Constitution, and breaking down that 1999 Constitution is the only panacea. And that solution is there in the constitutional force majeure, which was declared on December 16 to 2020. I am going to end my speech here. I thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Fred Agbeyebe, for leading us in the Lower Niger Congress, and every other person that is paying attention now. Thank you, and God bless you. Over to you, Mazi Ezoke.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clifford. It was Dr. Clifford Iroanya. I believe so, that he basically hacked my system and knew exactly when I wanted to come, and you rounded up. I must commend you for the time. The timing was super. Honestly, it's, you know, I couldn't say more than that, and I'm very grateful that you kept to time. Now, in summary of what Dr. Clifford Iroanya has said, that the problem, as he has said it, as he had basically laid it bare for every one of us to see, that the problem lies with the 1999 Constitution. In his words, he says, that's a rogue constitution. Think about it for a moment. While you're doing that, I'll be bringing in the next person, a tested general, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, leader, Midwest Movement. He's going to be talking on a topic, healing the wounds of division and disunity within the lower Niger territory. For many of you who do not know, I call him fondly as my brother. Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki is the leader of the Midwestern Movement. He needs no introduction from any one of us. As some of the videos of the campaigns of the restoration of the sovereignty of the Midwestern regions, which I believe many of you must have come across them, some of them here on Ginger Media, some of them on the Ben television in the United Kingdom, everywhere. Again, to his person, he is a firm believer in self-determination rights of the people of the defunct Federation of Nigeria. Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki is an advocate of the ethnic charter for federating the diverse people of the lower Niger territory within the context of the wider NINA's constitutional force majeure. He is one man that, sometimes I do beg him, my brother, if I do not have my dictionary to hand, I ask him to mellow down small. I have the pleasure now to welcome Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki from the ancient Benin Kingdom. My brother, you are welcome. You may now have the floor and make your intervention for 5 minutes. Do we have Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki in the house now? Johnny, can you quickly unmute him if he's there? Did he log in with a different name, Johnny?
I see Jerry Obaseki. Is that Dr. Don Pedro?
I didn't ask him to unmute if that's him.
Jerry
Okay, that's not him.
Oh, you don't look like Dr. Don Pedro. No, you're not. Yes.
Yeah, he's my cousin. Now, Doctor, if you logged in with, sometimes I think he logs in with, what's it called? Midwest. Check okay, no, it's not. Okay, so we are going to move on and go to the next speaker since Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki is not there. So I would say, back office, if you are able to interface with him and to ensure that he does not have difficulties in joining us. The next speaker, Johnny, I would hand over to you to do justice to that. That would be Kenneth Dike, or Didika Esquire.
Oh yes, let's make sure Dr. Odedika, Mr. Odedika, Kenneth Odedika Esquire is online. Let's look for, check for him while I search also.
I think we have Kenneth Obioma, or probably Sim.
Let's see, Adidika.
We have a Kenneth in the house.
Yes, he could have. I see I see Azuka or Didika. Azuka or Didika, are you Dr. Are you Kenneth or Didika? Please unmute.
No, sorry. Sorry, brother Johnny. It's Kenneth Diana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a Kenneth or Didika.
No, it's Kenneth Diana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Okay, while we are looking for Mr. Odidika, let's give a little background about this journey and where it started. My brother, Maz, is okay. While you, let's find the next person, but I'll just share a little background of this movement. As soon as that 1999 constitution was put in place, our team knew right away there was trouble. It was going to be a major problem. So some people got up right away. One of those people was Tony Nadi, and started protesting it. But there was a light in that tunnel, at the end of that tunnel, that people could see at that time. And that light was that the president that emerged out of that election was a Southerner, a Yoruba by the name Olusegun Obasanjo. And immediately people believed that we could go, Tony Nadi believed that we could take this case to Obasanjo. Obasanjo, knowing what is in that constitution, would immediately work to make sure that it does not see the light of day and start a transitionary process. So what we see today coming from the people was actually started as a government. They wanted to walk through the machineries of government with Obasanjo at the helm to bring or to come to a transition, just like they did in South Africa with Frederick de Klerk, where he transitioned from an apartheid system of government into a true democracy. They were hoping that Obasanjo would do that. Obasanjo kept promising and delaying until 2003. Tony Nadi got tired Tony Nadi gave up on him and disembarked and now went to the people. That was when this movement became a thing of the people. Took it to Anthony Enahoro, who brought Ojukwu in, and then Wole Soyinka, Fred Abayebe, and other people got involved. Bankole Oki, and a host of others, Bishop Bonigi, they all got together at that time. And so for many people out there who think that we can go into another election and produce a Southern president who is going to go to Abuja and change the foundation and of the country that has so benefited the Fulani is going to happen, the answer to that is that we have tried that already. The Southern president that had the greatest opportunity to change, to destroy that fraudulent constitution did not do it. So that's where we are at this moment. It is the people's journey now. It is the people rising up to say, no, we did not make that constitution and you have no right to impose it on us because we are the owners of the land. Thank you, everybody. So where's I see from Karen Odidika, good evening, sir. My father is on a call. I see a message.
Okay, thank you very much.
He listed as iPhone, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki is on. So doctor, can you quickly raise up your hand? Obaseki, please. Obaseki, can you quickly raise your hand? Or can you change your device name to reflect your name? Everyone raising their hands will be lowered, please. For now, only people allowed to raise your hands are those we are wanting for them to speak, please. Obaseki, we are waiting for you to quickly raise your hand so that you could be unmuted, please. I cannot see any hand raised. Okay, it's if Odidika is now, has he finished his conversation? If not, we will move on. So who on the galaxy?
Marco, Lisa, please stand by.
Okay, so can you quickly unmute yourself? Gary Okechukwu, what is it?
Okay, good evening, everybody. I want to thank the organizers of this
So, sorry, who is speaking?
Okay, sorry, my name is Sir Jerry Okechukwu. I represent Akurulo Ogbako.
We're not taking questions. Yes, we're making presentation, please. We just want only the speakers that have been called upon to raise their hand. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think Kenneth Odidika, I saw a message that
okay,
he's on.
Who is with iPhone, please? You've been unmuted. iPhone.
There was a text that came from Kenneth Odidika.
Is Colonel Young here, please?
Okay, he says that Kenneth Odidika, iPhone is Kenneth Odidika, asked to unmute. Okay, is that Kenneth Odidika? You have been asked to unmute. Please speak, let's hear you. Oh yes, I think I see him.
Hello.
That's right. That's Dr. That's Kenneth Odidika. Let's introduce you appropriately. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. Kenneth Odidika is a lawyer, a legal practitioner representing professionals. He's going to talk about Highway to Freedom, repudiating and rejecting the 1999 Unitary Constitution of Nigeria. He's a legal practitioner and professional with outstanding distinction, whose concern for societal good constantly manifests itself in the courageous position he takes. In the courageous positions he takes on issues around the national question, including the recent Nina's Grand propositions contained in the December 16, 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure Proclamation. He is the managing partner of SOA and Mesorius Solicitors. If you're, Mr. Odidika, please speak to us.
I'm sorry.
Please talk to us.
Well, one of our problems, I just stopped, but the generation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. My colleague has said a lot of things about the 1999 Constitution. So I wouldn't dwell so much on that. I'll just go to why we need to repudiate it. Yes, that 1999 Constitution is a fraud, simply put, however I define it. As Uriah said, we never made it. The soldiers made it. It's actually, I'm going to make some correction. The decree number 24 of 1999 did not give birth to the Constitution. Decree number 24 of 1999 is the Nigerian Constitution because it states specifically that 1999 Constitution is a schedule or schedule of that decree. We all know that schedule is part of the law or part of the agreement or part of whatever it is. So decree number 24 is the 1999 Constitution. Now, why did they go to make such effort to clandestinely force on us by force of arms, a document they claim to be the Constitution, which we must obey because that's the ground norm. I hope you're hearing me clearly. Good. Now, the reason is very simple. They wanted to gain undue advantage, which they wouldn't be able to gain in a democratic setting. part of that constitution tells you, I think in section 6C, that 6C, that all the things that were done from January 15, 1966 till 1999 cannot be inquired into. Now, what were the things they did from 1966 to 1999? They created states. They created local governments. These are things that conferred undue advantage on them, which is why, and then by that, they gave themselves, they contrived numbers, huge numbers, claiming that the population is now more than 10 times the size of what the other population ought to be. That is why when you say anything, I'll tell you go to National Assembly. So they put in these things there, making it impossible for you in future to go through the normal channels to get your interest protected or projected. It is imperative that this contrivance, this fraudulent creation, be repudiated in its entirety, not sections, not chapters, but totality. In totality, it must be repudiated. Repudiation, of course, means rejecting, because this thing lacks validity. It is in that thing, that contrivance, that they also said that you cannot judicially question even some rights they claim to have given you. That is to say, things like federal character cannot be questioned. So where, as Major General Buhari has been doing all these years, he continues appointing even his brothers, sisters, daughters, and cousins. You cannot judicially inquire into that, because the law, their law under that condition says that not having made that constitution, we are duty bound to repudiate, reject, and throw away that contrivance. If we do not do it, we will continue to suffer the illegality foisted on us by our actions not being illegal. And I explain what I mean. Where you now say, look, the oil in my backyard in Bayelsa State, I need it, I want to take it. They will tell you are committing an offense. You are going against the Constitution. You are committing a criminal offense. Meanwhile, this is your own. At no time did you agree to subject your sovereignty to this, to anybody. Because the purpose of constitution making is we all gather together and determine how we want to, what sovereignty, what degree of sovereignty of ours shall we cede to a greater body, a central body. Having done that, we now determine the terms and conditions under which we coexist. This was not done. Rather, the soldiers claimed that they selected a certain number of people who they asked to coordinate a debate. Even if we now, for purposes of argument, say, okay, look, we accept the people you appointed. Didn't the same people now say in that same decree that they rejected, they call it amendment. They rejected the report sent to them in the interest of the masses. Who made them the judge? Who made them the arbiter? Who told them to now take a decision on our behalf to determine what will be good for us? A few men sitting down in the comfort of wearing their khaki and determining for over, as at that time, over 100 million people, 150 million people, what will be good for them. Nobody elected them. So highway is very simple. Highway means a major road in everyday usage. We're talking about highway to freedom, which suggests that currently we're in prison, we're incarcerated. Our freedom is circumscribed. We must take advantage of the inherent illegality in the Constitution, because it is inherent. And throw it away because it has actually effectively destroyed itself. So we can now just walk through the open gateway. If we do not do this, if we don't do it now, peacefully, as it ought to be, the way to now achieve it will be violent. So as it is now, all the advantages that the Fulanis have conferred on themselves, because that's the reality. We'll have to call a spade by the contrivance of that illegal document must be rejected and denied because they contrived it, we don't accept it. We're not party to it. So this is time to say, no, we are not continuing with it. So all we need to continue doing is, no, we are not party to it. And the NINAS, currently constituted, is in a very good position to achieve this. Your military personnel, your police people, all members of NINAS, the zones that make up NINAS, should determine right now that they can no longer subject themselves to the illegality foisted on them.
Thank you.
Yes, the next thing you hear is mutiny. It is not mutiny. For me to get that which rightly belongs to me.
Thank you very much for that succinct presentation, and also timely so. I think there was a time the timer went off to actually indicate that your time is up, but again, you played to the time. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, we now have the privilege to welcome Dr. Don Pedro Obasake that I've introduced before. Now, Dr. Obasake is now back on. Doctor, can you unmute and turn on your camera then so that you can address us? The moment you start, your time starts counting. And obviously, when you hear that beep from me, that's an indication that your time is up. Thank you very much, Doctor. It's a pleasure seeing you once more.
Thank you very much, my dear brother Mazi. And thank you, Tony, and thank you, everybody. Thank you to the last speaker. I have not been actually here for a few reasons that I could not control. I don't want to make that too public, but they wanted me not to attend here. I just want to quickly say that I will go straight to what was assigned to me with little or no preambles. And it says, healing the wounds of division and disunity within the lower Niger territories. Before I take that on, I just want to also seek your indulgence to say that I represent the interest of the Midwest peoples of Nigeria, which is the defunct Midwest region of Nigeria, which is now Edo and Delta State, and arguably the most systemically marginalized sector of this stupendously skewed contraption once called Nigeria. Also, I want to also put it on record that as at the time the military or the Khaki boys came into power, up till when Mr. Gowon on the 27th of May, 1967, unilaterally balkanized Nigeria. We were 1/4 of this nation. And as at that time shared a quarter of the total representation of the Nigerian Senate, which was made up of 10 per region. Today, based on that same matrix, the Nigerian-led the Fulani oligarchy had made us the most marginalized amongst the peoples of this country, which never achieved nationhood. Today, the North, that was 1/4, has 57 senators. The East, which was 1/4, has 27 senators. The West, which was 1/4, has 18. And the whipping baby of the skewed Nigerian Union, the people of Edo and Delta, the Benin, Urobo, Isoko, Ijo, Shekiri, Urobo, Enoani, Esan, Akoko Edo, and Ora peoples, and the Okpe peoples are today 6 senators. There is no greater marginalization than that. be that as it may, I also want to also say clearly that in speaking here, I just want to say what we are doing within the larger Niger Delta areas over the 65 ethnic nationalities of the Niger Delta, to make sure that we do not blindly, because we want to live a badly skewed Nigeria, walk into another contraption that is done in a hurry, done because persons want to kill Nigeria, and so we walk into another death trap where we will not be better off than we once were. So the Midwest people, our Midwest People's Movement, are going from place to place, putting together what we call an ethnic, a Bill of Rights for the ethnic nationalities, which the Lower Niger Congress has aptly put, very succinctly put, a charter of ethnic relationships. Now, how do we do this? When this is done, all the shenanigans and the wounds of division that has been sowed since 1900, that is when it was systemically, it became a systemic thing, has been sowed, so that I will not enter a union where, because I'm Benin and make up close to 50% of the total, or more than 58% of the total population of Edo State, and arguably close to 30 or 25% of the old Bender State, and maybe close to 10% or 15% of the Niger Delta as it is presently known in their geopolitical division. Not now ride roughshod over persons of Isoko heritage, over the Hegi people in maybe in River State, who are very small, but maybe contribute per capita, maybe the largest contribution to the Nigerian nation in terms of the amount of oil and gas flaring that is being exploited from their motherland. How do we do that? How do we create a bridge across all divides? How do we create a semblance of unity? Because it is the cacophony of voices that they have leveraged upon all this while. How do I assuade my people that if I go into a situation or a negotiation with other nations, which I like the Igbo nation, that they will not one morning wake up and tanks roll across like it happened in August 1967, and in 24 hours in a blitzkrieg, the Biafra military were at the doorstep of Osadebe Avenue in Benin. How do I, or how do we make sure that the people of Ishekiri land, who ab initio in time from long before the coming of the British, actually had a firm control and grasp of their own affairs? How do we make sure that anybody, whether you are Akoko Edo or you are Afemai or you are from Emoha, how do I, or how do we make sure that you feel comfortable in a new nation that is being cobbled together? How? It is when we are able to skip these hurdles that the entire specifications that we've been having will begin to manifest, in physical and tangible measures or measurable tangibles. It is this how that is the critical nexus in our able to pull out of a terribly skewed federal arrangement that Nigeria presents.
Is it me or is Dr. Baseke's?
I think his internet is frozen.
Okay.
That the nation has come to a bridgehead. We are a nation sitting at the edge of a precipice, and we are just waiting like people sitting on the edge of a volcano on the top of a volcano, waiting to erupt at a moment's project. That moment is now. But in doing that, we cannot pretend or assume that maybe in all this, talk, people will just, Mr. Buhari, General Buhari and his people and his journeymen, will just let us walk away. I'm not stupid. I don't think it is, I think it will be foolhardy. It is how do we know that we can peacefully walk away without preparing for war? I think that will also be, how will I put it? It will be playing ostrich. We of the Midwest movement, we of the Midwest peoples, the 13 tribes of our area, we firmly believe that for you to have peace, you have to be prepared for war. And that war may necessarily not be the war of bullets. It will be war fought on all different strata. And this will include strategic engagements with ourselves, which is key. This strategic engagement with ourselves must produce a veritable document that will be greater than the constitution of the country or the nation that we decide that we be entering into. We are very clear about our options. In a meeting we had just yesterday, the board of trustees of our side, we are looking at everything. We are totally 100% in the NINA's arrangement to dismantle the Nigerian constitution, and as a result, dismantle the Nigerian nation as presently constituted. But however, we do not want to, by means of, how will I put it, gra. May I know this? Those will be people we like to speak pidgin. Without elemental gra, jump into another molue when we are not too sure of the end terminal, of the terminal point of that bus or of that bolekaja. We don't want to. So it is imperative for all of us. We are here, I can see a lot of persons I know here. All of us to begin to see that as something that is an imperative. Now, yes, before I finish, I just said, with that, if that is done, we will be able to move forward. 7 minutes is not a lot of time for me. I like to talk because I was taught to talk. One of those who teach me to talk here is Uncle Fred, Now, Dr. Fred Agbayegbe, I'm going to use him as my outro. About 33 years ago, he wrote a piece, and that piece was titled, "This King Must Dance Naked." Now, in The King Must Dance Naked, the entire nation, the entire polity was living a lie, ruled by a woman who they thought was a king. Now, for the people of the nation to move forward, there was a strategic, endemic, very maybe structural deconstruction of the entire nation by stripping the king so that the people will see the very nature of the kingship, to know the feminine or masculine composition of their king. It is time that the Nigerian country makes their king dance naked. And on seeing it, the people will be able to know that this nation is a lie, ruled by a non-Nigerian of Futajalon extraction, trying to lord it over Pedro Saro Agbenfo Obaseki, whose father is Benin and whose mother is Urobo. When we are able to do that, there is no gainsaying the fact that we will be able to walk away without fear of being killed by Fulani Moredas. It must be noted that the Nigerian government has absolutely no capacity to fight war on more than one front. They've been fighting a band of semi-illiterate Boko Haram people since October 2010. when they bombed Abuja in that infamous bombing at near the Bayelsa house in Abuja. This is 2021. They have not been able to kill them. We must know that on a strategic level, the Nigerian army is just 178,000 people. The Nigerian Navy is just 25,000. And the Nigerian Air Force is 18,000. That is less than the total population of Ilu-Olubu. So if we begin to think that the present divide and rule and this skirmishes that is being done in Nigeria is enough to scare people, we are never ready for this fight. I will say finally, according to the Latin people and for my lawyer friends here, it says, vicis pacem pera bellum. He who that wants peace must be prepared for war. God bless all of us. I don't want to exceed my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your time was well exceeded, but as always.
Mazi, I still see that I love it so. Andrew, you love me.
One of our brothers, well, who is your neighbor, Patrick Obiagbo, would always say,
"Oh, Patrick,"
in the spirit of Barakboism.
Yeah.
In the spirit of
you be my in-law, no verse.
On that note, thank you very much for that succinct, presentation that you've made. Your submissions are very, very well understood. I think in the street parlance, we would say that it's something that is very visible to the blind and audible to the deaf. So again, in Igbo, we will say onye nwere ntị, ya nụrụ. On that note, I will say, because I know you're, as my in-law, obviously you do understand Igbo, and our listeners also do. And for those who do not, you can pay Mazi later for translation. On that note, I would hand over to Johnny to introduce the next speaker. Thank you very much once more, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. It's always been a pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you, Mazes. Okay, and thank you, Dr. Don Pedro. I'm glad he talked about the Charter of Relationship. The Charter of Relationships, it was always part of the program of making sure that we are entering into a situation where every ethnic nationality has their due respect and protection. This is not going to be one lording it over the rest. That's the purpose for Charter of Relationships. Thank you so very much, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. I'm going to introduce a man that I have that I got to listen to quite a bit over the years. He's a colonel. He was a military officer. He's going to speak on a region of loss, the hijack and confiscation of key assets of the peoples of the lower Niger. He's a brilliant military officer, a degree in quantity surveying, who has made his mark in the charged debate around the Nigerian national question. Colonel Niam came to the national consciousness when, in April of 1990, he and his military compatriots, including Major Gideon Oka, launched a coup in an attempt to address the perennial question of master-servant Nigerian Union. Though the coup failed to achieve its objective, the issues raised that 22nd day of April 1990 has become much worse and a lot more self-evident. What Major Gideon Oka saw in 1990 in what Governor Samuel Otom is seeing now. Whilst appreciating God for preserving our brother and guest speaker's life from the consequences of that action, and in honor of the memory of the departed heroes of that botched self-redemption action, may we invite all conference participants to observe a minute of silence. Amen. That some of those soldiers that their names, Captain Nimbiogu Empere, Captain Perebo Dakolo, of course, Major General Gideon Oka, Lieutenant Nicholas Odei, Lieutenant Cyril Ozalo, Lieutenant Ato Umukoro, Lieutenant Emmanuel Akogun, Sergeant Julius Itua, Sergeant Matthew Ademokai, Sergeant Pius Ilega, and others. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. At this point, I am going, Colonel Inyam is muted at this point. Colonel, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Please, let's see your handsome face. Yes, your video is on now, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk to us, sir.
Right. Let me begin by thanking Ninas, you guys, for doing what has always been great, which is for this minute silence for the unsung heroes of the struggle for the indigenous people to be free. Thank you very much for that. Let me go straight to the discussion. I beg to edit the heading of my discussion to read "The Peoples at Loss, the hijack and confiscation of the indigenous peoples of the land areas derogatorily named Niger area." Now, let me go to my point. To prepare the grounds and erect the political and economic structure for the sustenance and legalization of the institutionalized assets. The colonialists followed this process. Both a scripture or the other and gunboat politics to lay the foundation of the confiscation. This, in practice, begins with the hijacking of the predominant determinants of levels of compliance to a national constitution, especially a justice, fairness, and equity engendering democratic and federal constitution. The predominant determinant of whether or not a government governs or rules in accordance with the principles of justice, fairness, and equity is a fit for purpose national security architecture or system. It is those with the monopoly of a nation-state's military assets that, when it matters, can skew political development to their favor. The colonialists amongst us have been held by the British to be a classical example of what is being highlighted. Lord Lugard, 1898 formation of the West African Frontier Force of initially about 2,000 soldiers, essentially mercenaries, was the beginning of the creation of the ways and means of usurping the indigenous people's inalienable rights. It is noteworthy that balance in our national security architecture gives the Fulani hegemonists the power to determine what constitution we have. And even when we have a constitution, if it's not backed by an appropriate national security architecture, that constitution may not be complied with. The good example is what is going on in Ethiopia right now. Ethiopia has one of the best national federal constitution, but because it wasn't backed with an accompanying or corresponding national security architecture, there is the federal government is defiant, and there's no reason why the Tigray region is fighting back. And luckily for them, they've just won the battles. The war is still on. What was happening in Nigeria is what the 1967 Aburi Accord was trying to correct. But the British beneficiary of the injustice in Niger area advised the historical and still continuing colonialists to renegade the agreement reached in the eastern region of Ghana. Towards an illustration of the fundamental point being made, I humbly remind ourselves of the relevance of how the United States of America national security architecture prevented the former US President, Donald Trump, from overriding any of the provisions of the US Constitution. Now, in practice, what do we need to do? We, people of the lower Niger area, and of course, the Middle Belt, need to follow the Southwest government's initiative of compelling the Nigerian state to devolve the national security powers. This must be encouraged. One way of doing so is for us regions to have a Amatekun type of structures, not just talking about it, but to go about having it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Yam. Thank you so very much. It's always a pleasure to hear you and the insights that you bring into discussions on this matter. Thank you so very much. Elder TK Ogoriba is next, and after Elder Ogoriba, Chief Ibeneme, is Chief Ogoriba, is Elder Ogoriba? Oh yes, I see him. Please unmute, sir. And I'm going to. Oh, Moses, okay. Please, introduce Elder Ogoriba.
Thank you very much. I do have the privilege to welcome Elder TK Ogoriba, who is the Vice President of the Lower Niger Congress. He will be speaking on the topic, Niger Delta, the long search for equity and future of shared vision. For many of us who do not know who the elder statesman is, a foremost eyes-on activist and champion of the Niger Delta cause, a former secretary to the Ebesu Assembly, a signatory to the Kaima Declaration, which framed the just struggle in form that eventually metamorphosed into the Niger Delta agitation. At the peak of the wave of the Niger Delta agitation dominated by men and the mandate of the key commanders of the armed agitators, TK Ogoriba broke out the ceasefire agreement with the federal government during the presidency of late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, when the then Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was dispatched by the then president to approach the leadership of the agitators for, cessation of to cease their hostilities. Currently, he is the vice president of the Lower Niger Congress and head of the Ijaw caucus in the NC, in the Lower Niger Congress. He was a co-convener of the 2015 Solemn Assembly of the people of the Lower Niger in Port Harcourt. Again, Elder, once more we say welcome, and may you please quickly make your submission. You have 5 minutes to do so. Thank you very much as you speak to us. You're welcome, sir.
Okay, good evening.
We can hear you, sir. Go ahead, yeah.
I want to greet the president of the Lower Niger Congress, Tony Nadi, the secretary, and all the organizers of this forum, and all the participants. It is a privilege, to be part of this gathering. I can say that one is very happy at the point where we are right now, because we thought that we are doing it alone, particularly those of us that are from the Niger Delta. We have done so many things when we became aware of the illegality of what the Fulanis are doing to us. Like as referenced by the president, that statement of 1960 is so annoying. That was done by Sir Ahmadu Bello, that the country that we all have, say our part of the country should be taken as a conquered territory, and that we should not be allowed to rule.
I think his connection is frozen. Elder, can you hear me?
Can do anything for us. So we have been on. But doing it alone wouldn't.
I think the connection has booted him out. He may come back later to make his submission. Now, on that note, Johnny, would I please, would you be kind enough to introduce Mark Olisa so that he can make his presentation, please?
Okay, yes, I was just looking for Mark in the meeting. Mark Olisa, are you there? I was looking for him and can't see him yet on the Zoom in the meeting. We may have to go to Chief Chika Ibeneme. If we can't see Mark. Mark Olisa, are you there? Please raise your hand if you are.
If he's not, you can go ahead and take the next person.
Okay. I think I saw Chief Ibeneme. I'm going to unmute her at this time.
So I think Mark Olisa is there. I think maybe Infinite.
Mark Olisa there? Okay, that's him. Oh, I see Mark. I see him, yes. And he's unmuted already. Good. So, good.
Hello.
Oh, yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. Mark Olisa is the Lower Niger Congress Director of Public Communications. He's going to be speaking to us about the campaign for equity in the Lower Niger, specific and aggravated constitutional grievances and the urgency of remedial action. A strategist in political and social engineering and veteran of many struggles, including what we now generally know as Niger Delta agitation. Mark Olisa was in the inner workings of the Niger Delta People's Volunteer Force, led by Asari Dokubo. He was deeply involved in the Pro-National Conference group processes of 2005 to 2006, and was a signatory to the inaugural proclamation of the Lower Niger Congress in Warri in 2009, along with 21 other delegates, including Asari Dokubo. cutting across the ethnic nations of the 11 states of the Lower Niger Territory. He was a co-convener of the 2015 Solemn Assembly of the Peoples of the Lower Niger in Port Harcourt. He's a signatory to December 16th, 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure. Mark Olise, thank you for being here. Let us hear you, our brother.
Thank you, good evening, my brothers. It's a great thing that we are gathered today, this time online, to discuss this very salient quest of our people to re-establish their sovereignty, which has been hijacked. I will start by, mentioning the quest for equity, the worries, the fears of the people, which they did not start expressing today. It is true that all the territories were conquered by the British, mostly as communities, as kingdoms, but definitely as territories. And before the British conquered everybody else in their own space, the people we see today that are considered minorities in the old Eastern region or minorities in the old Western region were not under the conquest of any of the groups that were considered to be the most populous ethnic groups. But fortunately for them, the British in that divide and rule, strategy, amalgamated the northern southern territory, part of the southern territories was amalgamated, and subsequently the southern part was divided into two regions on the basis of the tripod. The Hausa Fulani to be the dominant force in the north, the Yoruba to be the dominant south, in the west to be the dominant part in the east. And it was resisted vehemently by these so-called which I don't see as minority. If we are truly a republic, as we agreed in 1993, that Nigeria will be a republic, the relationship that everybody has to the republic is your citizenship. It is not on the basis of whether your ethnic group is large in number or small number. It is that you are a citizen of that country, and that you are supposed to be protected. Your citizenship is supposed to protect you wherever you decide to reside, within the republic. And even outside the republic, you'll be covered as a citizen of that country in terms of foreign relations and diplomacy. So basically, with the government came to saturation, by these less populous ethnic groups, mostly in the south, in the western part of the country, in western Nigeria, East Nigeria, and to some extent in the middle belt part of northern Nigeria. The actions were firm enough to the extent that the Willing Commission was established to look into the fears of these people. One of the agitations or one of the demands is that they want down region. I mean, like several of the groups that were agitating in the West, you had the Midwest movement. I mean, Midwest wanting to be out of the Yoruba-dominated Western region. Then in the East, we had the River State movement, or Oil Rivers as it was called, the River State movement and the Cross River Ogoja movement. Those two wanting to be separate, autonomous operating units in line with the regionalism that was agreed as the basis, for organizing the emerging country that they want to also be self-governing. The Willing Commission recommended in detail while democratic processes are followed through to in creating those regions, while those are subjected to democratic process of referendum, plebiscite, and so on and so forth. But that intervention agency should be created to look into to help in the process of development, ending when these ethnic groups, acquire their own statehood as a regional, autonomous regional blocks, federating with the rest of the regions in the Federation of Nigeria. That, led to the setting of the Niger Development Board. The Niger Development Board would later become one party during the time of, let's say, the last political intervention. They became one party. Then during this so-called Fourth Republic, it became a Niger Delta Development Commission. We've seen all that this board have done. It sets full of corruption, patronage, and even a venue for the northern elites to control their southern stooges by giving them perks of contract and collecting their own share. So the NDDB stuff did lead to, though it was recommended. Then there was independence in 1960. These agitations still on the need for a greater union, a stronger union, a more united, and equal union. The search for equity continued, and on the basis of that, the conference was convened that the Constitution, the Republican Constitution in 1963, and subsequently the referendum for the creation of the Midwest region. That process that created the Midwest region, it was expected that it was supposed to lead to similar referendum in the Ogoja River, Ogoja Cross River area and the Rivers area. It did not materialize until Isaac Akaboro had to, together with his compatriots, declare a Niger Delta hegemonic, force that was beaten down by the powers in Enugu and Lagos. And the attempt failed. These were the extent to which the less populous people went as far as to assert their right to self-determination, to assert, the need for equity, because, in their opinion, they don't want to be swallowed up by the major ethnic groups that have been that Britain have assembled the country around. And there are also fears.
Can you
and conclusions from people.
Can you round up? The time is long up. Can you quickly round up so that we can get to other speakers? Thank you.
Yeah. Also, fears by, and also conclusions drawn by these people that the people who are responsible for the problem of the country is the ethnic supremacy contest between the three ethnic groups. And so they don't want to hold up. So this quest for equity is what we should take very seriously in this process of trying to organize a charter of relationship, and we should have open mind, because there will be resistance, there will be suggestions and other suggestions. We should be patient and not be kind of driven by emotions or impatience. We should allow everybody to have their say. At least the minimum that everybody can agree to is that we need to do away with it. Do away with 384. Restore back our sovereign power to reconstitute ourselves, and the formations in which we are going to reconstitute ourselves. So let me leave it at there, since the time is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very fine place to leave it, and a very fine place to anchor that. It's been a pleasure listening to you. Thank you once more. And obviously, the points raised are, things that need to be addressed and looked into. Now, again, I would want to use the opportunity to bring Mr. Johnny Nosike, who is the diaspora representative and also the co-moderator here of LNC within their various engagements within the United States of, within the US government, and stake of the diaspora in the liberation campaign. Now, Johnny Nosike, if there are other things you might want to tell us, and obviously we are, the time is really gone so fast. We're close to 2 hours. Please, we must put a hard stop to 5 minutes. Once these alarm rings, please do not let me interrupt what you're saying, but quickly know that your time is up. We need to move on. Johnny Nosike, please. Now you may have the floor. Johnny Nosike, are you there? Unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry again. Just did not want background noise in the program. Sorry about that. Chief Ibeneme, please, you're next as soon as I wrap up. It won't be long. Thank you for being here. Thank you so very much, everyone. At the time we started this journey to recover our sovereignty from our stolen sovereignty from the Nigerian state, Lower Niger Congress developed an 8-point strategy. Number 8 on that strategy list is international imperatives. What does that mean? It's a recognition that we are not alone, that we are part of an international community, that there are individuals, entities, and nations that have interests in our space, and vice versa. It also means that things that are happening here locally can have international implications, and that things that happen internationally can have implications, serious implications here, such as policy. An American policy can affect us in our space. So when you are seeking your sovereignty to regain it, it's very critical to talk to the people in these power centers around the world for them to understand who you are, what your issues are, and what you're trying to accomplish. Nigeria sells 3 million barrels of crude oil every day. With this money, they are able to hire big-time lobbyists in the power centers around the world. Lobbyists talk to policymakers. Policymakers depend on information. They craft policy based on the information that they have. So if you're not out there talking to these same people and making your case known, policies will be arriving things will be happening in the rest of the world, and you will sit in your space wondering what is going on, thinking that everybody cares about nothing but money, for example. So it was very critical for us to connect with the United States. Interestingly, the things that you saw online in 2019 were not our first interactions with the United States. We started interacting with them as far back as 2004. We were not actually the ones that found them. They came looking for us. When the discussions were taking place regarding taking down the Constitution. American intelligence picked up that and they reached out to Anthony and Nahoro. They wanted to talk. They wanted to know more about it. They scheduled a meeting that was in Lagos. Anthony Nahoro told them that for that meeting, there's a young man that he would like in that meeting, the one who developed the proposal, and that he would like him to be there. And that young man was Tony Nadi. This was 2004 during the Bush administration. And so on that day, there were 6 Americans, including the Consulate General, including a man by the name John Negroponte. He was ambassador to the United Nations. He was ambassador to Iraq. He was a director of National Intelligence. He was a deputy secretary of state. This was a top-level meeting. And when the Americans came in that meeting, one of the things that they wanted to know was, you're talking about taking down a constitution. They understand what it means. They understand that once the constitution goes down, the union is at an end. And their concern was, when this thing goes down, are you going to drag Nigeria into Somalia? How do you plan to manage this process? So discussions began, other questions came, and the team opened up to them and told them exactly what they were trying to do. And their concern, understand that these are stakeholders also, just like I said earlier. So they had questions, all kinds of questions, and those questions were answered intelligently. And in the end, they found out that the people that are behind this effort not only are taking down a constitution, but they have a plan, a well thought out plan to manage the transition to where it does not create chaos. We are not anarchists. From that time, there has been respect was built on both sides, and there has been communication. There has been the Americans. So in short, Americans know about this. They looked at it long ago. And so fast forward to 2019. On the 17th of January 2019, the Secretary General of Lower Niger Congress was addressing and was speaking to an audience at the Washington Press Club in Washington, D.C. And he was talking about national security. If you know anything about our space and you're in that space, so you know what we're talking about, you know that by 2019, the things that we feared in 2004 have manifested fully. Nigeria now had 2 of the world's 4 most dangerous terrorist organizations, Boko Haram and Fulani herdsmen. They have partnered with their friends from the Iraq and Syria, ISIS, forming a partnership called ISWA. And these are enemies of America. So we now have a mutual enemy. So the Americans, it was a national imperative, a security imperative of the United States to be concerned about this matter. So we, Lower Niger Congress, whispered to them in America. Tony spoke at that place and he talked about this incident, this situation, the nature and tactics of this enemy. And one of the men in the audience was a man by the name Frank Gaffney. Frank Gaffney was, in fact, his organization was the one that organized this event, Save the Persecuted Christians. And another man that was there was Congressman Frank Wolf. He was a retired congressman. He was the one behind the Religious Freedom Act of the United States. Interestingly, Frank Gaffney was a president of a Washington think tank on national security called Center for Security Policy. Frank Gaffney also, he was the deputy defense secretary during the Reagan administration. This was somebody that was very close to the presidency. Actually, he was also first choice of President Trump for national security advisor. After that, as soon as Mr. Nadi finished speaking, he went to him and said, the American people, I need to put you on radio. I want the American people to hear what you have just told us today. So on the 19th of January, 2 days later, he interviewed Tony Nadi in his radio talk show called the Secure Freedom Radio, which is transmitted to 224 stations across the United States. American citizens got to hear what is going on in our space. And when they heard about it, they understood also that their national security was also compromised, because this enemy, once they get full control over the wealth of the Niger Delta, as well as the military hardware of Nigeria, they were going to be a much dangerous enemy that America cannot contend. They understood the natural security implications for America and the rest of the world. So after that discussion, and after also the issue of ethno-religious killings, where Muslims, jihadist Muslims, are killing Christians in their ancestral homes, America was very concerned. They began to act right away. The events were set up for, I think it was around May of that year, or around March or thereabouts, that they sent an invitation to Tony Nadi to participate in an event that was being held in Washington, in the seat of power. And that event was, the first part of it was in the House of Representatives. And on that day, Tony Nadi went out there with the team. We were all involved in that outing, in the planning and putting that whole thing together. When he got out there, the first thing that he went after was the narratives, the false narratives. That was the address that he made. And I'm going to be sharing some pictures with you on my right here. I'm going to share some, no, not this one, not this one. So Mr. Nadi went over there and began to counter those false narratives that have been, that the whole world, or what America knew. I don't know, many of you know that there are lobbyists in Washington that are lobbying the government and telling them all kinds of bad, lying to them about what is happening in our space. So Tony went in there, and one of the interesting things he pointed out is that this is ethnic cleansing. This is not farmers versus herders. How can it be farmers versus herders when the herder traveled 200 miles to get to the farmer's farm? And how can it be banditry? What is banditry for that matter? And he established that the government under Buhari was complicit in this whole thing. Washington was very interested in hearing. Washington was listening to all this with keen interest. And this is Tony Nadi here addressing that day on the House of Representatives. That's the seal of the US House of Representatives right in front. There's Tony Nadi speaking. This is Congressman Wolf that I talked about. This was on June 5th, 2019.
Johnny, you may quickly round up because we cannot see your pictures.
You cannot
physically sharing your folders. So quickly round up. Your time is long gone.
It's okay. You cannot see the pictures.
Well,
okay. So let's just so these are pictures from that event. Let me just show them in this way. This is actually important that our people see these things, because these were things that happened.
But we are looking only at your folders.
Yes, that's okay. If you can't see the pictures, let's just look at the folders. That's okay for now, because of time. So this is Congressman Brownback, who is Trump's man on this matter, on ethno-religious killings, and that's Tony Nadi that he's holding there at his back, the back. There was another incident. The U.S. went as far as inviting the victims of this massacres from the Middle Belt and other parts of the country into that. That's Tony with the mother of Leah Shuaibu, one of the Chibok girls. And that's Frank Gaffney with Tony at the House on the Senate, June 11th, 2019. And after that, there was another event done by the executive department, which took place. Different Nigerians came in. Our own Ankyo Briggs is there also, that they were flown into the United States. They came in that was a State Department event that took place. And wish those things could have appeared better. But I must tell you that some of the things that came out of that incident and those events, and they are very important. And one of the things that came out of that was that America, as soon as that thing, they went in there, Buhari sent Osinbajo to the United States to counter what was being said. Actually, it was, we found out later from Mr. Gaffney that it was the Vice President of the United States that summoned Osinbajo to come and explain what was going on in his country. Osinbajo went over there and lied. Frank Gaffney attacked him and called him a shameless liar. Your people are getting killed and you're here lying about what is going on in your space. As soon as Washington started paying attention, many of you noticed that these things, the rampage of the Fulani herdsmen, killing people, transplanting them, taking over their spaces, those things halted at that time because Washington was paying attention. At the behest of the United States government, the United Nations sent Agnes Callamard to go to Nigeria and investigate and see what's going on. She went to Nigeria and she released a report, a scathing report, where he indicted the 1999 constitution, Nigeria's constitution, as a pressure cooker for injustice. You remember the Trump executive orders, where they designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. You remember all those things in all these events in Washington. While they were there, they established that the people that were being killed were Christians. And the people that were killing them were jihadist Muslims, killing Christians in their ancestral homes, jihadist Fulani Muslims. They also established that the authority that gave them, the authority that they were riding on, that gave them this kind of power in the rest of our spaces, in the rest of Nigeria, is that 1999 constitution. So Washington got that message very clear. And you remember the Tom Lantos hearings that took place in Washington? America has devoted time to our problem. The Lower Niger Congress should be applauded for reaching out to the United States of America. It pays to reach out to the country, a country that has executive, that has veto power in the UN National Security Council. If you are living in America, in fact, one of the questions they asked Tony Nadi in Washington is, if these things are happening in your country, how come Americans in this country, how come Nigerians in this country are so quiet? So if you are living in Nigeria, in America, and you are comfortable and you think it's okay, it's not. You need to speak up and let people hear you. Call your legislators, your legislators, call the people in power, all the contacts, the people you go to church with. We are with these people. We see them all the time. Many of them are personally known to us, these policymakers in this country. Talk to them, get them involved, get the people involved. And we know that it is this enemy that we are fighting. America is not involved just as backing us up. They are here for their own selves too, because this is their enemy that is doing this. So I'm going to stop right now, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to hand over to you.
So thank you very much for your input. On that note, I would invite Akuche Eze, please. Is Akuche there? Please, can we pay attention to time, because we have indeed exceeded the time. So please, Akuche, please unmute yourself and make your submission.
Akuche, can we please, Mrs. Chika Ibeneme, can we go to, I promised them her to be next when we finish. Please introduce Dr. Chika Ibeneme. Akuche, please wait for a second. Let's introduce her. Dr. Chika Ibeneme.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Chief Ibeneme, please unmute yourself. Good. And let us see your face, please. Turn on your video and speak to us.
Video. Hello.
Oh yes, and then let me introduce you, please. Let's do it. Let's do the introduction. Oh yes, she's the president of Igbo Women Elders Council. She's going to talk to us about the stand of women on the December 16, 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure Proclamation. Chief Mrs. Chika Ebeneme is president of Women. She's also an executive of the Nigerian Women Elders Council, a firm believer in the propositions of LNC and its NINAS allies. Chief Mrs. Chika Ebeneme led a delegation of the executive of the Igbo Women Elders Council to NINAS in furtherance of the resolve of the Igbo Women Elders Council to interrogate with a view to advancing the objective of the December 16, 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure. Chief, thank you for being here. Please talk to us.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I all of us are listening.
Oh yes, we lost you for a second, but we have you now. We lost you for a second, but we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
You remember that on the 4th of this year, there was a conference by the Nigerian Women Elders Council on the safety of the nation. Am I on?
Yes, I can hear you. Let's see. Ask to unmute. Please unmute. Please unmute. I think you got muted. Can you please unmute? Oh, I think we lost her audio. Please, Akuche, stand by while we sort out Chief Ibeneme's connection. Oh, network. When we regain our sovereignty, we will have better network. I promise you that. We will have 24-hour electricity, just like I have it in America right now. Your cars will not die in 1 year because you live in Nigeria, riding on those bad roads. Oh, Chief Ibeneme. Oh, Chika. Oh, Akuche, please stand by while we try to get Chief Ibeneme back.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, is that Chief Ibeneme? Oh yes, I think Chief Ibeneme is back. Please talk to us.
Ibeneme is around.
Yes, we can hear her.
Well, we regain our sovereignty. I believe all these things. Yes, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. Nigerian women. Yes, the Nigerian mothers are solidly in support of NINAS. The land is flowing with blood. The blood of our youths are begging God to help us come out of this mess. We call it the Decree 24 of 1999. That is what we are suffering from. And we call for a shoot down of that decree. That is a constitution, the so-called constitution. Nigerian women are no longer comfortable with what's happening in Nigeria today. We don't have any security. Nobody is
Oh, I think we lost her. Maz, is okay? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I think we lost her. I really would love to hear Chifi Beneme. Chifi Beneme is these are the mothers whose children's lives are being destroyed by the Nigerian state, who are denied everything, the criminality that is being done to this generation, these children. Oh my God. Evil.
Anyway, thank you very much, Johnny. I think we need to understand the importance of time and we need to move on. Can we quickly bring back Akuche, please, so that whenever the chief is back, she can come back. So we need to move quickly. Akuche, can you quickly unmute yourself and speak to us, please? If you could make it in less than 5 minutes, that will be much appreciated. Thank you very much, Akuche. Akuche, please, can you quickly unmute yourself? Now you are muted. Thank you very much, and quickly speak to us. And for the obviously everyone watching, thank you very much once more. Akuche is going to be talking on the topic 2023 elections and renewal of slavery to the caliphate. A Nigerian candidate, a Nigerian Canadian-based singer and songwriter with exposure in broadcasting, Akuche Eze is emerging as a leading voice in the youth segment of the raging debate about the future of the Peoples of Distressed Federation of Nigeria. Akuche, once more, kindly unmute yourself. You muted back again. Kindly unmute yourself, please, and turn on your camera. Thank you very much. You now have the floor. Please, if you can address us in less than 5 minutes, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. Your time starts now.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I couldn't hear you guys for a minute there, so I just wanted to try to get that connection back in place. Now, I just want to start by saying that I am directing this message to the youths of the Lower Niger Territory. Everything that we have been doing up until this time, you listen to the speakers that have spoken so eloquently, and even to Mr. John Inosike, where he outlined all the progresses and everything that has been happening prior to this point. Now, at this time, we are at the journey to stopping the 2023 elections. And I just want to talk about how important this is, because the youth are the people that are normally used, to secure these elections. And I'll explain what I mean. First of all, the 1999 Constitution has been taken down. We know that by virtue of the constitutional force majeure of December 16, 2020. For us to be able to enforce that, we have to make sure that we do not allow ourselves to be dragged into another election come 2023. That is why you've been hearing us say parties need to close shop now, right? Because anybody coming into this election, anybody who emerges as the winner of the 2023 elections will now reaffirm our enslavement to this union, because they will swear allegiance. They are still going to constitute under this same constitution. We will still have the 36 states. We will still have INEC. INEC is a product of the Constitution. Therefore, INEC is a fraud, right? So why are we allowing ourselves to be a part of a criminal enterprise? That's what it is. We need to think about what this would do for us, for our futures. We saw a video circulating about Ghanaians. I think there were Ghanaian youths where they were trying to bribe them with rice and monies and all. These are going to come, but they refuse that, knowing that you eat today and then you eat your future. So the only people that are benefiting from these elections or these constitutions are the people that it works for. It works in their benefit. We're asking the political parties to close shop now. Youth, if you can hear me, if you can hear this message, this is our NSAS reloaded. NSAS was very, very successful. And the reason it was because we had a vision and we understood where we were going. And we made our voices heard all over the world. And we said to people, we need to stop this oppression. Now we are saying we need to stop the journey to 2023 elections, because picture this. I needed to have a visual picture of this. It's like you giving money to a slave master to keep you bound in chains. If you can picture that, that is exactly what we're going to be doing if we allow ourselves to be dragged into 2023 elections. I am saying to you today, do not register your PVCs. Don't go and renew your PVCs. Leave everything as it is. Watch this space, stay informed with the Lower Niger Congress and everything that's happening, and you would get more information on how where we're moving to next, because the plan is to get to a regional referendum. And we cannot get to a regional referendum if there are people that are still talking about 2023 elections. Let it be known today that anyone still clamoring for 2023 elections, whether they're talking about a youth party, whether they're talking about an Igbo president or an Ijaw president or a West president, whatever, if the only way that they can emerge as a presidential candidate or presidential winner under this election, under this constitution, is if they have the backing of the caliphate. If they have the backing of the North, is the only way, right? So let us have that message that if there's anything you're going to take away from today's conference, take this away, that we are not renewing our enslavement to this union of death, this union of contraption, this union of atrocities. We will not allow ourselves to be dragged into 2023 elections. We have stopped it. We have defeated the Constitution. We're gaining our freedom, and we are moving to our self-determination, whether anyone likes it or not. The scholars, there's a saying that when you do something repeatedly and you're looking for a different outcome, is tantamount to insanity. So if we are going to elections, because that's what everyone is saying right now, you see it all over the social media spaces where they're saying to the youth, renew your PVCs, get your PVCs ready. No, we are not renewing our PVCs. We are not getting our PVCs ready. We are enforcing the constitutional force majeure by not going to 2023 elections. So I just want to hand it over back to our host. Thank you guys, and thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our sister Akuche Eze. Senator Aniet Okon, can we find him, please, on the Zoom? And Rear Admiral Yanga, I'm looking for them on the Zoom meeting. Please, if you see them, please identify. Rear Admiral Yanga and Senator Okon. Tony Nadi, I'm going to unmute you. Can you see them, please? Tony Nadi, do you see Rear Admiral Yanga or Senator Okon in the meeting?
I should just stay like this or wear something. But well, they've seen me all this. I've been like this, so I don't need to change it.
Yeah.
Okay. Tony, we're hearing you.
Yeah. Okay. Am I to speak next?
You may have to, because I was trying to find Rear Admiral Yanga.
Yes, he's been incidentally he's been trying to come. I think there's network, challenge in the area where he is. He's been asking that he be let in. So you check again for whether you see, he's been in and out. The network is, logging
Okay,
out.
it's not steady. Okay, how about Senator Cohn? Is he?
I am yet to determine or establish what the situation will be.
Okay. In fact, if they are on, please raise your hand.
Any of the speakers still remaining in the house should please raise their hand. Call the names of the ones who are yet to speak. Admiral Nyanga.
Yeah, I think that would be you next, if they are not available.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Ogoriba also, he had TK Ogoriba had a written he had a written script which he had transmitted to me. He's not able to come back into the meeting, and the bottom line of the entire thing is that he says that they have reviewed everything that happened from before Willings Commission to all the Borough and Kensaro Wiwa and Mend and Avenger, that they have finally come to the conclusion that it is the constitutional arrangement that need to be altered, and therefore they are in full embrace of this constitutional force majeure that will take down that constitution and restore everybody to their own sovereignties and self-determination. So that's the summary of his position.
I think he spoke already. Elder TK Ogoriba.
Right. I mean, he mandated me to give the summary of what he has spoken. He was locked out. He didn't finish, but he had a written script, and he's also mandated that his written script be transmitted to the Secretariat for publication.
Okay.
So that's about him. So we can go. I will start by thanking all of our speakers and the many listeners from across the globe. There are many media partners, all of those who made this possible, particularly our guest speakers. I want to say thank you very much. I also want to assure you that our people have listened from all over the world. The governments of many countries that are, keeping an eye on what's going on in Nigeria have also, there are a whole number of policy makers across the length and breadth of the globe that are tuned in and watching what our people are saying. For our own political actors from our own part, I also want to say, I hope you are listening, because if at the time the people you represent, you're a senator, you're a governor, if at the time the Constitution is choking them and they're taking steps to relieve themselves from death, to save themselves from damnation, you are swearing to defend and uphold that Constitution, you can be sure you are placing yourself on a head-on collision with those people. If at the time they say they can't go to another election, like we had the last speaker, Akuche, say on behalf of addressing the youth, if at the time they say they can't go to another election that will renew the life of that constitution, you are inviting them to go and get PVC to come and vote for you. That is your turn to come and be president. Again, let us caution ourselves while it's still daytime that you are putting yourself on head-on collision with those who are being killed under that constitution, those whose assets have been seized under that constitution, those whose future have been ruined. We're talking about the oil and gas assets of the Niger Delta. We're talking about the youth whose future have been destroyed completely by the constitutional arrangement, quota system, and everything that makes life impossible. Electricity will not be there for any economy to function. Those who cannot endure Nigeria try to get to other parts of the world. They trek across the Mediterranean, across the desert, and many of them die in the Mediterranean. We travel around the globe and we see the kind of suffering that they undergo in the places they've been. So in all of this, we just telling our people that this constitutional force majeure is, the Lower Niger is very much a part of how that constitution will have to be taken down. We saw the Yoruba out there. I'm now speaking in my capacity as co-convener of NINAS, because it was basically a Lower Niger Congress proposition that found buy-in in the other two blocks, and the three of us rejecting what had been imposed on all of us by this caliphate that has seized the carcass of the defunct Federation of Nigeria. Yes, the country is still in place, but that federation that was agreed upon in 1960, that secular federation that was agreed, is no more, because we are no longer a federation. In the face of the 36 states that were created, in the manner it's created, we're no longer a secular union in the face of the 12 states that impose Sharia. So these are the things that should guide the thoughts of anybody who is listening to this conversation from any part of the world. The owners of the sovereignties that have been forcefully confiscated by the Nigerian, by that dummy of Nigeria, from the defunct federation of that carcass of Nigeria that has been hijacked by a section of the country, the Fulani, who are now not only, they are not satisfied with confiscating all the powers and all the assets and all the guns in the land and all the monies in the land. They are now exterminating the owners of the land to plant their own people whom they have brought from outside the borders, from all over Africa. We saw the governor in Bauchi talking about how Fulani from everywhere belong to Nigeria, and how they owe it a duty to absorb them. We saw the person managing the database of Nigeria is Pantami, who is a senior ranking terrorist known to the global community. We saw all of the kind of responses that have been coming from the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces and Security Services of Nigeria that is supposed to be dealing with this matter. His sympathy is openly with them at the level of collusion, as Gerard Danjuma had told us. So in all of this, it's a question of life and death. And if that constitution is the enabler of all of this, what is the wisdom in going to renew the life of that constitution by another election in 2023? So we are appealing to all of those. We took 90 days waiting for the federal government. They went to National Assembly. We took 30 days waiting for the governors to come to agree with their people on what to do, having been abandoned by the federal government. The governors went to Asaba to say, we'll ban open grazing. By what guns are you going to enforce that ban? Because the people who are doing the marauding are using guns. Are you going to ban it with empty hands when you have to go and enforce it? So again, there's no solution to open grazing outside taking down this constitution and recovering the right to armed self-defense. People are able to defend themselves if that constitution is out of the way. Then they come again to Lagos to say, the federal government cannot come to their area to perform military operations if they do not tell them. As long as that constitution is standing, we have a problem there. So they are all being invited. In this 120 days period of consultation, we have seen what has happened. The Yoruba is on the street everywhere in the world, home and abroad, telling the global community that they are fed up with the union. And in the other places, the East is militarily occupied. It doesn't matter how the discussion began, but that military occupation and military operation going on there, in the dot in the circle we saw, in the talking to them in the language they understand. At the time, Gumi is going, from forest to forest, hobnobbing with terrorists and accompanied by security services. The same security that cannot find the terrorists have been accompanying Gumi to the forest to pay them ransom, and every other day they will abduct another set of people, and they have come back to tell us that we owe it, a duty to them to put them in some kind of amnesty. They are trying to market, some nasty ideas. All of these are things we need to be conscious of in what this proclamation of December 16 has set out to do. That constitution is defeated. Those who are planning to go to election, under it, should know from afar that the people whose lives have been compromised by that constitution are not going to be looking for Fulani and soldier. They will be looking for people from their parts. My cousin, my nephew, who want to be governor and senator under that constitution is the problem I have. I'm going to do whatever it will take to stop him, because if I don't, he will be opening me up for Fulani that will come with AK-47 to me. All of the people who have been invited to come to get PVC for election, ask those who are inviting you to get PVC, by what constitution will the winner of that election govern? Is our sovereignty lost to people who are now playing politics? No, all of us can hold hands, take down this constitution, recover our sovereignty. We're a majority, a clear majority. You can see the map behind. We're a clear majority, and our competitors in the upper north have seceded from a secular union. So we really have no quarrel with that. They've exercised their own right to self-determination. The rest of us are exercising our own right to self-determination. And I would think that in closing, I can only thank all of us for making ourselves available to ventilate this issue so that we can understand exactly where the journey has gotten to. To tie it up, it began with the unfinished business of Nadeko, got the soldiers, the Fred Agbe you all see, turned 86 years in just 2 days ago. 86 years. Now, he was at the core of what played out as Nadeko. He was the last person sitting with MK Abiola the day they eventually arrested. He insisted on going with him, but they used so many vehicles and they diverted their attention somewhere. And from that point, Nadeko completed his business of getting the soldiers out of the government house. But the constitution by which the democracy operated was not done. And that was what we all now began in the Pronaco that we set out to do. And we got the whole country, coming together. Every nationality we could find across the length and breadth of Nigeria came together. In 2 years, we put all the questions on the table, including the Fulani. Buhari was part of the Fulani delegation that came to that meeting. Sayed Abubakar was part of the Fulani delegation that came to that meeting. He's Sultan in Sokoto now. And we all agreed that the only way we can proceed as one union is to restore the basis of the union, federation, to restore the secularity of the union. They abandoned it and moved on. And that's how we came into having reached that consensus of Pronaco. And they pulled out. We then called the rest of the country, since they've gone out of the secular union. The rest of us now became Movement for New Nigeria, which eventually attracted, got the owners, the sovereign owners, the Yoruba, to come out as the people themselves for the people's right, called the right to self-determination. It was from all that, in all those processes, that we came to the culmination of what we describe as the constitutional force majeure, which is now in its last round of consultations. Having waited for government in 2 tiers, the people took 120 days that began on April the 17th. Those 120 days will expire on the 16th of August in 2021. And all of those whose lives have been ruined by that constitution will then be looking out for people from their spaces who are warming up to sustain that constitution any further. Whatever they do in demonstration of their rejection of that constitution is what they choose to do. In the proclamation itself, we said we were going to reconsider our allegiance to that constitution. It will be up to each of the blocks. The Yoruba will decide whether they will surrender to be slaves to be killed in their space. The eastern side will decide, the middle belt will decide. And so we're just thanking our people for coming at our invitation to listen to this. In the days ahead, many more things will be happening. And I can also hint us that present in this meeting today is also the president designate of the Lower Niger Congress. Will not announce it now. He was present in this meeting, could still be present, opted out, due to network. But in the days ahead, when we reach the next milestone in our program, Uncle Fred will be moving to another road that will be less stressful and strenuous on him. And I want all of us to wish him a happy birthday and also, thank him for these many decades of service. And I can tell us that he has seen the success of the many years of engagement. Once more, I say thank you all, and the moderators can then call the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony Nadi. I hand over to you, Maz. It's okay. Thank you so very much. Go ahead, Maz. It's okay.
Thank you, everyone, for being part of this conversation this evening. Obviously, as Tony just wrapped up, reading comments from the meeting and those sending comments, we must duly apologize for exceeding the allotted time. And having said that, it's been a pleasure listening to everyone, all the speakers. And I must say, all the speakers, thank you very much for the contributions made. Johnny, I do not know, I can see people raising their hands. I do not know in the format that this was planned, if there was any need, or if there is any provision for people to take, or for questions to be taken. If that is the case, we may have to take a couple of questions. But again, as Tony already said, that this is, the meeting now is come to an end. I leave that to, for the main organizers to decide. Is obviously.
Let's check with Tony. Tony, would you be interested? Would you like a few questions while we have some of our people, while this goes on? Take like 5 questions. Can we do that? Tony Nadi, please unmute. Let me unmute Tony and see what he.
Right. Okay. Okay. Tony. We could take just 5 questions, so that especially those frequently asked. Let's see.
Okay. Dr. Deprier, Taria, please unmute.
Okay.
Please, let's see your face. Show us your video if you have if your network can carry it.
Yes. Sorry. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, great. Right. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody. My name is Dr. Diepri Etaria. I live in London. I'm a psychiatrist and the Secretary General of the International Congress, Europe. Now, I have to thank everybody for participating, and particularly for Mazi and I think Johnny and the rest of you. But this is my question. What is our plan of action? We've had a lot of rhetoric, and most of us really hit the nail on the head. But the question is, what are our strategies? We need to start to strategize and have an action plan. We have talked enough, and the election is just around the corner. So let us articulate how we are going to map out what we're going to do with a time lag. That's my submission.
Thank you. Very quickly. The enemy that has us in bondage, that thinks it can kill us now and become permanent owners of our assets, is also looking frantically for what our plans are. And so that compartment of discussion cannot be on an open forum such as this. Good. But I will refer you to the head of the Joe Caucus, who is also vice president of Lower Niger Congress, who spoke earlier. He will let you know what we didn't set out to come to talk to them the way all the talks have been going on. Actions are in another compartment. but we can't come telling the enemy what we plan to do tomorrow morning. There are things going on. You only need to come into it so that you can become part of the discussion of what those there are strategies in place. Go back to your circuit. Things are going on. You're going to see plenty if you look in the right place. And I've given you the first point of contact. There are more than 50 people present in this meeting. Each of whom can take you into what those actions are. Leave internet talk. It doesn't lead anywhere. Next question, please.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Again, thank you very much. I've been informed now that sadly, I hate to be the bearer of sad news, but the sad news now is that no questions will be taken anymore because we have exceeded the time and many of the participants have other engagement. On that note, I would say thank you very much.
And just one thing, let's collect, please, on the charts, leave us your email address, your phone number, contact information, and we will reach out to you. Please take the moment now and put in your...
So you can do that, but Johnny, thank you once more for co-anchoring this. This has been a very it has been a very fantastic evening. And I must also note there are many people that were worked tirelessly for this, behind the scene, and there are so many media partners also that also must be mentioned here, like Ginger Media, Ginger Media TV, Elumba TV, Volley Media, Daughters of Truth, Akuche, Schengen Story, Jovika TV, BVI Channel 1, and a host of others. On that note, I will say it has been a fantastic evening to stay with us, and just let us know that the struggle for us to free ourselves has just started. It is a marathon. Brace up, do the needful that you can. Thank you very much, and I am Mazi Ezoke. Thank you.